Ancient beats beneath my feet, patterns pound and play and pray, moving with the morning sun. Pulse of the earth flow through me. Power pushing past the pain, breaking barriers, building bridges, moving through the mountain range.
So I received a book from this woman in Tucson that I was dating years ago, and it was the Hero's Journey book. And I read it, and I didn't start reading it until I was actually on it. And as I'm reading through it, there's passages that are jumping up, and I'm trying to correlate what I'm reading into what's happening in my life, and there's a lot of parallels. And so as I'm going through this, and I'm meeting these people that are helping me heal along the way, and I'm seeing this is who they are, this is what they do, and there's a magic within it that I'm noticing. It's not just your normal person that says, hey, I have this title, this is what I do. You don't get that energy from them, right? But then certain ones, when you run into something where you have a certain issue that nothing's touching it, but all of a sudden you meet that person.
Serendipity comes in, and you're like, oh, this is meant to be.
Right? And then they go the extra mile, and they figure it out, and they hear you and understand you to an extent, and then they help you through that. And it's like, wow, that person really has a gift. I'd love to have them share their gift with other people. So I feel like what I've been going through is meeting these people, and as I go further along, and I've got this idea that me and my brother have of Buffalo University, is I was the first one going through this, and that's the blueprint. So I want other people to go on this Disney ride with me and meet the people that helped me get through, to help them get through to wherever it is that we're going. Like that's kind of the idea, is we're living it. And I see in you, which is awesome, because you have the camera and you film it, right?
Yeah.
And you're filming it as you're in it. It's raw, you know. You're meeting the people, and you're seeing it more. I don't know if it's more clearly, but there's more impact this time.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, holy crap! And as you said, when you went and did the medicine, said with the toad, that it became more powerful. There's something that switched in you, and you're on that hero's journey now, and you're leaning into stuff, and you're meeting these people that are on the same path, and you're filming yourself going through it, so other people could look and relate, be like, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And instead of building a wall behind us and saying, no, you guys can't come, we're turning around and saying, hey, you could do it too, and here's the steps, here are the people, here's the access, here's the way. So we're doing it as we're living.
That's exactly what it feels like, is being accepting, not just to the connectivity of other people's energy, and they're being empathetic and allowing myself to have that empathetic connection with others, where normally I would just be unconcerned,
Shield up.
but also being accepting of my own effect and purpose, which I think I denied. I more focused everything inward, being introverted and intuitive. I definitely don't look to the outside for anything, and therefore never really looked at I have an impact. And I think that's a strong thing with introverts and introspective type people, is we don't look at ourselves as having an effect. I almost call it the big brother persona. That's what big brothers, I think, embody, is self-sacrifice. They don't see themselves as important, but the younger brothers and the younger kids, they all look up to them like, that's my hero.
Yeah.
But then they themselves are like, nothing, you know what I mean? They have this almost dumbed down self perspective, you know?
Stoic, right?
Yeah, the stoic is very powerful and don't see ourselves as such. And it opened my eyes, the medicine did, to, fuck, I am kind of powerful. People do look up to me, and I'm almost being almost, what's the word, irresponsible in not giving myself my due and being what I'm supposed to be for people, and seeing myself as lesser than, is not giving them the due for them looking up to me. You know, the people that I've helped in the trades and in their own lives, you know, people I've worked with especially, I know I've had a big impact on their lives and who they have become just from working together and the conversations we have. And I'm just like, we're just talking, bullshitting. And they're picking up nuggets. They're like, they've changed their whole freaking lives over conversations we've had. And I see it later, like, and then they thank me later. And they're like, man, I really appreciate this and that. I'm like, we're just talking. Fun. Like,
right? But that's the beauty in it. It's the seed, right?
Yeah.
The planting of the seed. And one thing that I've learned is planting the seed, you don't always get to see the sprout, right? And that shouldn't, I guess isn't the right word. To plant the seed, to see it sprout, should not be the focus, right? You shouldn't plant it because you want to see it sprout. You're planting it because you know this is going to help, or this could help something, right?
Right.
So the intent is to give something because you want to give it, not because you're expecting something in return, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most beautiful things for me, like you said, is getting the feedback or seeing the change, seeing the lights come on, seeing somebody do something they said that they could never do.
Yeah.
Right? And being like, wow, that's big brother, right?
Yeah.
You talk about, that's like, that's right, that's my brother,
Yeah.
that's my sister, you know, that's awesome, you did that.
It does. It feels good. And then you didn't even mean to. It's like,
You're just
wow,
being you.
that's cool. I'm glad I had that effect. It's awesome to look at. But that is a big aspect of that integration that came about. Was there was a whole thing that I had described after my experience of, you know, it was like a stone thrown in the pond, and the ripples went both ways, to the past and the future, from the now. And everything in the now, as the now is all that is, everything else is looked at from a different, as Bako said, facet. I'm seeing things from a different point of view now, into the past and the future. And now I'm looking at those things, and I'm actually giving myself some of the due, where I never did. I was just like, I don't know what the fuck they were looking up to. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I didn't do anything. Now I'm like, I am kind of cool, you know? Wow. It's interesting. I never looked at myself like that.
Something that you said to me earlier was, I don't remember the term, spirit, universe.
Yeah.
It gave you this gift of who you are, right?
Yeah.
So that you could be you, not just for you, but for everything around you, right?
Right.
And so you not leaning into that, accepting this as gifts given to you, you're actually turning around and saying that you know something better, or telling the universal spirit to fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, I know better than this.
Yeah.
Right? But what you said by sitting with the toad, the part that clicked was, hold on. You realize that, oh, this is cool. These are gifts. I was made this way, just like everybody was made in their own unique way, so that they could be that to the world, because the world needs something from them.
Yeah.
You have these now. Obviously, we're here, we're existing on some level, right? But it's the interactions with the outside world, right? And so, what is this? Why am I this?
Mm-hmm.
What is the reason? What is the point? Because, like you said, the whole name of your channel, Walking Tower 888. When you said that, I related. I was like, oh yeah. You just walk, and the world just happens around you. There's no non-reaction, right?
Yeah.
When you walk in as a mirror, and it's someone with the energy, because what they're really feeling, right, is the energy.
Yes.
Even more so than the look. It's the energy walks in, and everybody has a reaction.
Yeah.
Nobody's just sitting there. Everybody kind of turns around, and then they react to you based off of how they're feeling about you, not basically on you, right?
Yes. Yeah, it drives. It's like electricity walking in a room, and everything gets charged all of a sudden, and everything's going to react some which way for sure that there is no non-reaction, like you said. And then I've come to what you just brought up is what's the point? What's the purpose? Existence and the reason. And that's part of it is I think when you get to a point of just perceiving and processing interactions and having your perspective and embodying that perspective that comes from just existing seems to be the whole purpose. You know, we're all the little fractals of the greater whole of consciousness, and we take all of those experiences back to the whole consciousness at the end. So part of our whole purpose is just to experience. That's it. Just experience. And what we do with that experience is outside of our control. I mean, we have our own choices of how we behave, but what happens is truly in spirit's hands. It's out of our control. And that's something I had to learn young, you know, as soon as I started to have my freedom to do what I wanted to do with my life. It didn't take long to start to understand how much it wasn't in my hands. You know, I think my first great adventure was when I was about 14. I left home and went to the East Coast, and I started out with a buddy. We went all the way to Maine, and it took 2 weeks on a bus. We stopped in a few places. We went to Maine. I left from New Hampshire on foot. I mean, had a great adventure, but we were homeless, starved, fucking had to steal from, you know, just to survive. And we're stealing gas, meet a girl, she gives us a car. I mean, all kinds of random shit going on. But, you know, I'm with this dude that's like, he's the kind of guy, we're sitting at the stoplight and a cop pulls across the street from us, and he's at the stoplight and he's like, they know we're going to go to jail. And so he peels out and makes him chase. I'm like, all we had to do was just drive, bro. Like, why did you fear call, you know? Like, oh. And I finally realized, I was like, I got to just go my own way here. So I left on foot. From that point on, I gave myself to the moment and was taken care of by the kindest of random strangers, and just being open to circumstance. I made it for a month and a half until I finally called home and was like, I'm ready to come back. Send me a plane ticket. I'm going to be a good kid and finish school. Because the world will eat me and not notice I was there. And I see that now.
Yeah.
I am nothing to the greater world. I need to buckle down and just do what I need to do until I know my purpose. And chasing and trying to force what I wanted was the greater lesson that I learned out of that journey. Was I always wanted to go to New York and do these things, and shit, got to New York, I was like, oh, this is whatever. Let's keep going. Like, let's go to Maine.
Right.
Starvation and random strangers' kindness and being put to the mercy of natural law forced me to understand that you have to bend to the will of spirit to make it. You know, I was forced to understand the weakness of our own will when it's not backed up by good intent and focused will. I had no plan or anything. I didn't have the experience to have any fortitude to make the future something that was solid. I was just like, this is what I want, go for it.
Understood.
That's Cheshire Cat.
I love that guy.
Right? That guy. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
That's right. You haven't noticed, we're all a little mad here.
Right? Definitely.
I think looking back, like with your story, as we get older, we realize that's what built us, right? Because we had to go through those things to get to a point to process and integrate to understand why did I go through that? If you wouldn't have gone through that, what would it have been, right? And then we talk about death and near deaths, or actual deaths on other planes, right?
Yes.
But why am I still here on this plane with that knowledge? Because I shouldn't be. So
Right.
what am I doing now, right? And for me, another thing you touched on was intent. When you're young and learning and growing, you start seeing how you affect the world and things that you can do, right? And one big thing for me is manipulation, right?
Yes.
You start learning how we can manipulate the world around us.
Mhm.
How do we manipulate it, right? So we're animals. We're humans, but we're animals, right? There's certain things we need, certain things we want. How do you go about getting it? On some level, most of it is manipulation to get some of those things, right?
Yeah.
What I've learned, and I learned this maybe like 5-10 years ago, was the intent behind getting what I want and harming others or things around me, or trying not to have the best intent behind it.
Mhm.
So in the past, I've definitely hurt people and things by trying to get what I want. And my intent was selfish. It was for me. I knew this, irregardless of how it affects the universe, right? Around me.
Right.
Right. And we've had those experiences. The universe comes back to you. It's like,
You can make it happen, but if it isn't balanced, then it will turn on you.
the ripple effect
Yes.
that you're talking about, right? For
Yeah.
every action, with equal reaction. So you're like, hey, I can hit this as hard as I want. And it goes, that wasn't supposed to happen. Oh, shit. It came back and hit me. Okay. And then we start, again, we're animals, so we're learning, right? We don't like to get negative impact, right? But then we learn also that we're harming other things around us. And that's a whole nother, empathy, right? So
Yeah.
we're talking about, are you able to see your effect, which you did hurt something outside of you? And what do you do with that?
Right.
That's a whole lot of shit, right?
When you bring up magic and manipulation, it leads to willful manifestation and purposeful manifestation, which I see as magic. As long as it's balanced and intended with goodwill, it's good magic. If it's balanced with evil or selfishness, then it's black magic. But still, both are brought about by the same processes of willful, intent focused, and a desire driving constantly until it is manifested. And that's, in essence, the process of magic. But for some reason, when you were talking about magic, it brought me to the idea of the process of predators like snakes and big cats and wolves and stuff, is their process of energetic control mechanism of mesmerizing. Have you ever heard about it?
I've not. I understand mesmerizing.
Mesmerizing is from a distance controlling something by focus and causing an effect on it by your focused intention upon it. So it's like the coyote staring at a rabbit from a distance and causing it to go into either a calm state, and it mellows it like cats do it. Big cats, they'll stare at something and they cause an effect on it before they stalk it. And that's the mesmerization process. So I watched my snake. I have a ball python and I feed her live rats. And I've watched her process before she eats. She mesmerizes it. She'll sit there, unless she's really hungry, then she'll, but especially when she can't see well, she practices mesmerizing first. And what it is she'll do a little motion, and it starts to watch her, and then it starts to mimic her, and then it gets used to her, and it gets calm, and she won't go after it right off the bat. She waits for it to get comfortable. And then it focuses in on her, and she gets it.
Right.
And that's that mesmerizing effect. And I bring that up because I've always seen that as a magic that predatory species have tapped into in the process of energy between creatures. Is there's an energetic exchange that happens from a distance, like what we were saying, where you come into a room. Before you get into the room, the energies in the room feel you coming. Is that an essence of having I almost want to say, a predatory essence as a human versus how a lot of people are sheeple?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, do they react that way because you're on a different vibratory process as a human than they are?
Mm.
And I've wondered that several times. You know, coming up as a kid, I think a lot of people looked at me and I questioned my own self. I'm like, am I psychotic or psychopath in my head?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I have empathy and I have love. The world tormented me and treated me poorly, and it made me have some of those behaviors, but those aren't me. Those aren't who I am. I'm loving. I just want the best for other people and my kids, and I don't want to do harm or anything, but I have that capacity, right? And I think when you're embodying the duality of that, you also hone in on that essence of capability of mesmerization, to be able to mesmerize.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a predatory sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of magic and what makes people uncomfortable about people who have that sorcery in them or that magic in them. Because you have to have that embodied in you to be whole. But people are usually one or the other. They're either evil or good. Too far. Rarely are they balanced. Maybe that's part of the aspect that is making people uncomfortable, is the balance. They're like, well, how do you ride that? You know what I mean? I want to stay either bad or stay good.
Well, the acceptance of being both. So duality in and of itself is existence. Realizing there's something outside of yourself. The first time that if we were one consciousness and one thing, there was never duality because it was just, right? But the second that you experience something outside of yourself, all of a sudden there's this other, and that's duality, right? These two things. Now there's obviously more, but it's the experience of something outside of yourself. And it's like, what just happened? There's something else, right? Well, what do I do? Masks, right?
Yes.
Feelings, thinkings, like holy shit, right? But then what is the reality? There just is. Everybody gets caught up in two sides of the coin, right? This side of the coin, this side of the coin. Hey, what happened? And you hurt my feelings because you're not recognizing this. And it's not that I'm not recognizing that. You're going off on these tangents instead of saying, hey, this just happened. What now? What now? Well, I don't want to accept it. Okay, so that's your brain freaking out saying, I can't process and handle this, right? But yet it still happened. And if you go to predatory survival type thing, when it comes down to it, if this just happened and your life is at risk over this thing and you need to make a decision, if you're trying to figure out how you feel about it, it's too late. You just got mesmerized. You're getting mesmerized. The snake's doing its thing. You're starting to feel warm and fuzzy inside. You're like, right. Oh, this feels, whoa.
Boom.
Hold on. Hold on. This is happening. Oh, he's mesmerizing. It's too late, right? It's, oh, shit. Something is different and I need to do something about this. Right. And that's duality for me. And what I feel is hard and what you're talking about is I want to stay good. I want to stay, hey, it just is. And I'm still working on it too. There's parts of me that I'm trying to integrate, parts that I'm like, hey guy, you just go ahead and hang out over there for a while. Get to you, right? But the more that you recognize that you're all of it, divine feminine, the divine masculine, it's all one, we're all one. We have the capacity for all of it. But then intent. So now that we've accepted this and we know this is what we are and this is what we do, and this is what we're capable of, what are we going to do with it?
Yes.
And that's the intent. And to me, the main difference I've come to in my life now is I have this intent dial. my intent was selfish. Now I do the same thing. I'm pretty much the same person, but I might turn my intent to the best intent that I could have,
Right.
which is for the benefit of all beings. How do I use this for the benefit? And that's something.
It's a good balance, intentionally. And that's what I keep coming to these conversations that I've been having with everybody, is that seems to be an overall, not just a purpose of where we're going and what the overall intent is to bring about that integration of the shadow and the light in people, and that is ultimate health and ultimate being, is bringing the two together, is wholeness of being. But that's something that psychedelics brings about. That's part of the shock process of using or being under the influence of psychedelics, is it shows you that outside perspective where you're outside of your normal processing functions, and you're like, wow, all of a sudden I see everything from a different point of view, and it's not what I've been thinking all this time. I've always looked at it this way, but now it looks completely fucking different. Like, and if you were not seeing deeply enough or never looked at it that way, it all of a sudden becomes clear, like, oh, it is as it is, not as I see it. And that's part of being true in the moment, is seeing that we're just a part of what the bigger whole is. Right?
And that for a lot of people, again, with on the other end of the spectrum of figuring out what is we're so caught up in ourselves, the humility of being like, I'm just a speck out of everything. And it isn't necessarily all about me. There's a lot of other things going on that I should maybe consider.
Right.
I look at psychedelics because there's a lot of different ways you could get to that state, right? The state of understanding. You could get to it through meditation, a lot of other practices, right?
It doesn't have to be psychedelics. That's the quick. But then sometimes you don't get there. There's that too.
But I like it, and for me, especially for me, I was hard-headed. Like, I could always explain things away and figure things out, like you were talking about the lone wolf type thing, right?
Yeah.
I got this. I don't need something else. I will figure this out, and I will make it work one way or another, right? So I had a hard head, right? So to crack this persona that I created, I needed the kitchen sink, right? And there's these medicines, there's different medicines, and they have different powers to do different things, right?
Yes.
When I first started taking some of the medicines, they didn't do anything for me. Like, I took them and I'm sitting there looking at people and they're hugging trees and doing whatnot and other stuff, and I'm like, okay. But again, I've worked so hard on not cracking under anything.
Introvert. Too deep.
Because we lock down into who we are so much that nothing outside of us could do anything to us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, normally people feel or react to, we're just like, we can't. And that's trauma response.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we had to do that. It's not we wanted to. It was like, we better figure this out. Because some of the shit that's happening to us, we would crack.
Yeah.
So we locked down so hard. So how do you crack that to get to this underneath and get to that vulnerable space? And it was the toad. The toad is a much stronger medicine. It's much shorter duration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, here we go. And it's the crack in the armor, right? And we don't like cracks in our armor.
Right.
Can't have crack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we cracked it, and that's the beginning, and then that's when everything starts seeping into it. And if you really lean into it and are vulnerable, you start peeling back those layers.
Yeah. Yeah, it immediately brought me to my fear. My biggest fear is always my children. I'm always worried about them when it comes down to it. That's why I stopped doing acid and mushrooms and all these things back in the day, a long time ago, because every time I would trip, I would immediately be like, something's happening to my kids. Something's happening to my mom. and I'd start worrying, like, and it overwhelmed everything. And I literally, Mom, how you doing? Is everything okay? She's like, what are you doing? Are you tripping? Well, Mom, yeah, I just will let you know I love you. I was just worried. She's like, you're fucking tripping. Just calm down. Everything's fine. I'm like, okay, I just need to know. Just need to know everything's fine. Okay, thank you. Woo! Okay, where's my kids? You know, and that, but well, that was the first thing that happened. Was it was like, whoa. I was like, oh, what are my kids gonna do without me? It was like overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I've been there too many times, and it would overwhelm me. But as you said, it's like, boom, so quick, and I just was like, what are they gonna do without me? And it's not up to me.
Let go.
They'll be okay. They'll be okay. I've done everything I was spirit led to do, every moment that I felt led to do it. It's not in my fucking hands. Why am I worried? There's nothing I can do anyways. I have to just trust, as I always do. But right now I can't be overwhelmed with what's gonna happen, and that goes back to that from now out, like even to the past, to the future, like everything's fine. The fuck do I spend so much time worrying all the time? Like worrying was gonna do something. Like, what does that do? It just sends ripples of worry into the field, and everybody's stressed, and I'm stressed, and it's no good for anybody. You know, and I know that, and I would purposefully practice that, but it was purposely practiced, not lived in. And that was the difference. In the moment where that freed up, and it was, oh, I'm right here, right now. Nothing else is happening. And I looked at Bakal, I'm like, I love you, brother. And this is the first time I can tell you in my life that I've ever called anybody brother, actually felt like I mean it. Because everybody on some level has been a possible adversary to me. You know what I mean? I go, I just couldn't help it. I'm like, I'm not safe if I don't see that as a possibility. I was like, I feel free from that. I feel like I can actually totally trust you. Right? And I'm comfortable with that. And I was like,
how did that feel here?
Fucking good. So free. Or I was like, what are you trying to do to me? You know what I mean? Like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, oh man, it was never felt like that. As long as I can remember in my entire life. And then I told him, hey, you know, you are seeing me right now in a light that nobody has ever seen me in my life. And I'm seeing you from a perspective that I've never had in my life. I've never felt open to now without worry of all the things from the past and my future interacting with the now and fucking up the moment. It's like, I'm okay right now. That was one of the first things I said to him in the first experience. Part of it, I was like, am I okay? And he's like, you're fine. Everything's fine right here. I was like, okay.
Right?
I was like, okay.
Like a newborn babe, right?
I'm all right.
I got this.
All right.
Put some of the armor back on. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
But that vulnerability, right? And it's what it does, what you very well described as ego death.
Yeah.
It's the death of the ego that no matter what, that still goes on. Everything's fucking okay whether I'm here or not. It just is. Breathing out into the nothingness, right?
Yeah.
Which is everything.
Yeah.
But you've done so much work that your experience coming back was chill. I don't know if you've seen some other people when they come back.
I haven't watched anybody at all. I haven't watched any videos on it, nothing at all.
So when I saw yours, I was like, he's done some work. Because this is the way that I described it happened, right? You had a major foundational thing that you built your life on just completely stripped to and torn apart and obliterated.
Yeah.
right? The armor completely came off, breathed out, everything's okay. Ego, I don't need to be here. My mom, kids, they're all okay. It's all okay. It's always been okay. It always is gonna be what it is.
Right. Yeah.
Everything was okay. But then you came back and it's like, well, wait, I'm still here. So now what? What do I do now? Because everything that I did was based off of this. So what now? And that's the next step into unknown.
Yeah.
Where everybody goes and goes, well, what do we do now? What is next? And when you have good guides like Baco, and you trusted him, you already had that connection with him to even allow him to go to that space to do what you did.
Yeah.
Right? All it took was you looking at him and going, am I okay? How vulnerable is that? If you ever really looked at somebody else and said, am I okay? Did you give your power to somebody else to tell you
no.
you're okay?
No way.
You're like, internally, you're like, am I okay? You're scrambling, trying to put it back together, right?
Couldn't feel whether I was or not. I had to check in. I needed somebody else's perspective.
He just somebody else's perspective in the most vulnerable moment. And he said, yeah. And you accepted it.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay. And a lot of people try to take everything, they take it back and put it back together, try to put it back together stronger, less vulnerable. No, now there's nothing can fuck with me. Now I know who I am. Well, you just put everything back on and increase it tenfold.
Yeah.
The true vulnerability is stepping into that and being open, like you said. My interactions with other people, instead of how does this space affect me, how do I affect this space?
Yeah.
Right? Putting myself out there in situations when I was younger and I wasn't able to defend myself. That's where the armor came from. Now that I know who I am and I'm sovereign, I can stand in my space and I know I'm okay. If I stepped across and what they see in the mirror triggers them and they act in some way, I could be like, that's not me, that's them, and I'm okay.
Yes. Yes. That separation. Because being an empath is not something you can change. And being connected isn't something that you should shy away from either. But it's complicated when you walk in a room and somebody's angry and you feel angry and you have to separate. I'm not angry, they are. But you feel it. Or they're sad, I'm not sad, but I feel it. And not to embody that, but to allow them the space and let them be that and not try to fix it. That's the harder fucking part. Right. Being empathic like that is very rough. But the big thing that had happened right after, where you say most people put their armor back on and get, oh, fuck that, I'm gonna fight this.
Right.
I have been doing so much shadow work and intentionally shedding these layers and integrating and purposefully wanting to heal and change for so long. For me, it was finally open and sword and shield set down. I was like, I went to that place where I started singing that song. That's when the camera shut down. And I was like, oh man. Because Baco was like, dude, you shared all this stuff. Where's that? I was like, camera shut off, dude. I sat there and I sang that song that I sent you from Radiohead of all, you know, black-eyed angels sing, swam with me and all my past and future and all this stuff. I sat there and sang that song and I was looking at my tattoos and I was like, and everything started coming to me. I was like, you know, I used to, as a kid, you know, I was having outer body astral travel experiences at 4. You know, I was always highly psychic and able to do cards and all this stuff very young. I was the person during my teen years, you know, going to school in Albuquerque and stuff, where I'd show up to the party and all of a sudden the party turned into light as a feather, stiff as a board. And, you know, we'd start playing all the Ouija board. And that's what happened when I showed up. We started playing spirit games.
You were that guy.
Yeah, I was that guy. It turned into a spirit party all of a sudden. And that's how we did. That's how, you know, I'd read my friend's mom's tarot cards and stuff.
That's cool.
And that was just part of me all the time. And I always was playing with spirit. Witchcraft was I was writing spells, and I understood that the spoken word has the power of manifestation. Putting the letters together is spelling. Spells are just words put together with intent, and the will creates. And I knew these things, but I, like the conversation with Gina, witch wound stuff. because I already inherently knew these things inside and had learned these lessons to a point and used them so willfully and purposefully and powerfully at some other place in the past, and was persecuted or possibly killed or something over it. That's what the witch wound is in your current life path. Because you have those abilities and you know these things inherently in you, you are repressed in their use because they are attached to a fear that something had happened due to the effect and the usage of them. And that's where I automatically identified with her. I was like, which would you are very powerful and you have capabilities that you repress because you were persecuted in the past over your usage of them. And I grew and used and learned these things young and was already doing it, but I let go of that stuff in my older years, and just I was aware of it, but immediately upon making the videos and stuff, started getting back into it. That was magic is a big interest of mine. Not so much teaching people magic, but showing that it's real, that it's not fake. It's something that can be learned and can be taught, but it is like a gun. It's dangerous in the wrong hands. That's why it's spoken of in the Bible. It says, people who practice sorcery and magic are evil or whatever. But I think the Bible is more a tool of control. It's a method to control the masses. And they're warning people away from their own capability. It's another witch wound thing of, those who know are supposed to be repressed and driven away from their capabilities. Because who wants empowered people?
That. And what you're saying about magic is we all have it. It's just drawing our attention to what is it, because the way they described it, it's like, oh, this is fireworks and shit. And I'm not saying that it can't be or it's not, but let's draw it down and focus on some of the smaller things, like you said, spelling and words, intent and mesmerizing. These things are magic. So some of it's a lot more simple than they want you to think. And again, they wouldn't want you to understand that if it's that simple, because if you start practicing your sovereignty and your own power, then you're not going to allow somebody else to tell you shit.
Yes.
Of course, magic is the devil. That's the quickest way. If you've got everybody mind control, that they're gonna, the second that they feel that, the repression, like you're talking about, right? You used it as a kid, but as you got older, people, and the way that people responded to you in the world, it was like, I shut this shit down.
Acceptable.
Perfect. I gotta shut this shit down so I can be normal. And if I already don't fit in, I really won't fit in if I do that. I'll be excommunicated, exercised, ostracized. So I gotta figure my shit out, right? But then so I'll talk from my personal experience. I was small, as a kid, we're smaller, right? So these people are pushing these beliefs and things onto you because they can, because you're small and you're impressionable, right? And you're not supposed to fight back. Adults are right. All the bullshit, right? This is the way it is. So you go through, but you're still feeling this stuff. But they're telling you it's wrong, so it's like, okay, let me repress this, let me fix this, let me figure it out. But it's still happening, right? That's the duality. It still is. Regardless of what you're saying, it's still happening. But then I tried to beat it out of myself, kill it for myself, because I can't be this. I need to be like everybody else, the way they say it is. But as I got older and older, I never fit. No matter what I did, even if I excelled at all the things they told me I needed to excel at, I still never fit. They always turned back to me and were like, you don't fit. I'm like, shut up, I got that. But I'm trying to fit. And even when I do what you ask me to do, and I excel at it more than others, but since they fit better, even though they don't do it as well, they stay.
Yeah.
But me just being me automatically is like, shit. Oh my God, this guy, he's here. Oh my God, he doesn't fit. You know?
Yeah.
And then it got to a point finally where my Disney dream died. I got divorced. The whole thing was 2.5 car garage, 2.5 kids, own a home, good money, blah, blah, blah. The Disney scene, the bullshit they sell you, right?
Right.
And then it died. Divorce. Am I supposed to get divorced? Am I supposed to do this? Is this supposed to happen? And that was my first huge death. Right? Dark night of the soul. Who am I? Put the shit back together. Everything fell apart. Who am I? Blah, blah, blah. And on the other side, as I started going past that point, like we were talking about your breath out
Yeah.
during the bufo or the ego death. That was an ego death, right? So people have these deaths throughout their lives.
Yeah.
Once you start putting it in perspective and really pointing it out to people, they're like, oh shit, I have that. I've had that. Many deaths, huge deaths, deaths of things that you thought were, that you realize later aren't. It's a death,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So who am I now? What do I do now? And at that point, I was the size I am now, the guy I am now, and I realized that I am an apex predator. Like, unless there's 10 of y'all, you're probably gonna leave me alone. You're more scared of me than I am of you. So now I just get to be who I am, because when I'm locking a room anyway, y'all motherfucker, it doesn't matter what I do.
Right.
No matter what I do, I'm me. So let me walk into me. Who am I now at this age? And I had a few tattoos before. Like, I had like 4 or 5 just small ones, but then that's when I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna be me, bro. Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Let me see what can I do? What can I get away with? Because y'all gonna look at me because of this anyway,
Yeah.
right? No matter what, because of this and all this, it doesn't matter. So let me put this on so that when you look at me now, you really see me. This is me now. So,
Right.
yeah. And again, we talked about this earlier. People look at us and they feel that energy, and some of us look up to us and like, wow, that guy, he could do this and he could do that. It's like, I'm human just like you. You could do this too. So that empowerment and the intent of it giving back and saying, hey, let me show you, come on, get safe. We can do this together. Let's go. We could all do this. And if we all stand up like this, then all that external shit can finally fall away, and we can finally be who we are. Do what we really want to do.
That's something that I want to say almost the prophets who are more modern day who have talked about the collective conscious awakening that's happening now is starting to get to a critical mass where enough people are aware of their sovereignty that it is starting to become an exponential growth at this point, the critical mass, where it is not something that's fringe anymore. I'm hearing more and more people say collective consciousness and talk about the awakening and these things in the public, where it used to be a very fringe subject. People are like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, and you mention it and they're like, oh, I've heard of that. It's like, it's spreading. But it's not spreading as much through media and these things, which that's where it started, but it's spreading through consciousness itself, because there's enough people awake that the collective as a consciousness is becoming aware socially through osmosis, in a sense. It's just in the ether,
Right.
and people are just waking up and they're like having dreams, and awareness is just coming to them, and there's like realizations, right? They just happen from nowhere. I remember having them as a kid, where you just have a moment and you're like, it's like the quickening or something, like, zing, whoa, the fuck was that?
Mm-hmm.
I just realized something. And it's a moment of empowerment. I think that's happening to people more because of what we're talking about doing, the work that we're doing, and the conversations that we're having with people isn't so much a activity, it's a sign of what's happening. It's like a proof that the awakening is real and it's happening. Yeah.
I agree. And it's great to see. It is great to finally be able to talk about things, right? And have people be able to be vulnerable enough to talk about them. And have it be out there a little bit more on media and stuff. And like you said, that you can see that it's finally taking hold. One thing that's crazy for me is, so when I'm like on Instagram, that's the one social media thing that I do. My algorithm shows a lot of people in this space. And I'm like, wow, all the information I'm getting is is this, right? Then all of a sudden something will pop up that's like an ad or something, and it just is like, it's so loud because it's so off of what I'm used to seeing. And so as a processor, as we talked about, I'm INTP, you're INTJ, the introverted, the puzzles, the internal people that go inside to figure things out, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, if I'm seeing all this, maybe it is happening on a giant scale. But then I start looking at the likes. We're talking like somewhere between 1,000 to maybe 15,000 on something that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's taking hold. And you see this ad that's on something that like I used to be into, sports or some entertainment or some celebrity. Hundreds of thousands or a million likes, and it's like,
yeah.
it's like, okay.
Still a lot of sleeping people out there.
It's like, oh, wow. But it's definitely more, and it kind of makes me think of the work that we're doing in this. When I start seeing so much of it filling my thread, that it's like, well, who am I to do this? Because as an introvert, I'm like, well, if they're doing it, then it's cool. I'm not trying to do what everybody else is. Well, good. Y'all go ahead and do it. But then it puts it in perspective when you think of how many people there are in the world. If you're only seeing thousands, then we are all doing what we're doing now. We're all doing what we feel being called to do. We're hopefully living on purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's enough of us spaced out all throughout that we could catch enough of these people that are kind of in that middle ground that I've heard about it. And like I told everybody, we're the ones that jumped off the cliff. Like, we didn't need somebody outside. We're like, when we decide to do something, we're going to do it, right? We'll do the information, we'll gather the information, do the research, but then we're going to jump off the cliff. Because that's the only way we learn. That's how you find out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're such a different percentage of most of the world. Most of the world is in this sphere. And that's what the world has sold us, is fear. So you have people that have heard about it, but they're scared as hell to jump. I have to go to a ceremony and actually do the medicine. I actually have to go to, the jungle and put something in and then you hear all the things that could happen to you. They're just like, no, I'm not going to do it. And it's not that they're not curious about it, it's that they're scared of it.
Yes.
So for me, and what I feel we're doing, and even right now by talking about it, is we want people to come and see that it's okay. We want to inform you and let you do the research and answer all the questions. Whether you think it's a dumb question or not, it's a question, and in your life it's real. It's making you not jump, right? So let's get you to a place where you're no longer scared. That's all I'm trying to do. That's how I feel all we're trying to do is we want to get you to a place, hold your hand and say, okay, now you have all the information. Are you fearful of making a decision now? We want them to be able to look us dead in the eye and be like, you know what? I'm not scared. And now I know. And it's like, okay, well, which one do you want? Now they can make a decision from the point of knowing. No, I know enough and I don't want to do that. Cool. But now it's not, I don't know, I'm scared. It's, no, cool, I understand it and it's not for me. Or, yeah, you know what? I do want to try this, right?
Right.
And building that safe container, where people feel where it's okay, it's safe, having somebody like Baco when after you go through this ego death, you could look at somebody that you trust and that person could ground you and say, hey, when you're freaking out, everything just got blown wide open, you're like, am I okay?
Yeah.
And you can trust that person looking at you and go,
yeah,
you're good. And you could go, that's enough for now.
Yeah.
Okay. And that really is.
That was big, for sure. It was. And the quickness and the surety, certainty, that grounded me, as you said. It did.
Right.
I was not certain myself, and I did, as you mentioned, have to reach out, and I needed assurance, which is completely outside being an intuitive introvert. I don't look to the outside for shit. Never. And that goes into another aspect of where the collective awakening is when intuitive introverts are the ones reaching out and sending the message. That's really coming from a place of people who are tapped into the greater consciousness itself and trust that more than anything else, are bringing that out of the consciousness and giving it back to the consciousness outside of their normal processes. That's big. that says a lot of where the world is headed. In this whole, we crossed into, now we have the 13th Ophiuchus sign in the sky that's aspecting the world, and we're also transitioning into a new Orc field as a solar system where there's a different density that's going to be occurring, which has so many different aspects on energy. The Earth is resonating at a different frequency due to it. The sun is acting differently. The planets are all activating in different ways to the different energetic aspects. It's changing so fast and to such a degree, and we being connected to that energetic field are changing as well as an entire species.
Right.
And I think these are all signs that we're all feeling the effects, but have no answers to why. And part of it is going to be answered and healed and lived through by some of these type of groups. I think are going to be a big aspect to having the answers and helping people process the changes that are coming to humanity as a greater whole, because we're in for more changes, I think, in our awareness and our reality and capabilities and perspectives, perceptions, all that shit it's changing so fast. Like, from being a kid and not having cell phones to now, when I was a 16-year-old, man, I had dreams about the cell phones we have now. And I told my friends about it, and they're like, "You're fucking nuts, dude. Watching TV on your phone and everybody's doing it, and it's normal." They're like, "Dude, you just smoke way too much weed. Like, you're stupid, man. We're so sick of hearing you and your wild ass shit you always coming up with." I'm like, "You don't understand. No, it was a dream, dude. I just dreamed that we had these freaking phones and there's a screen and everybody's watching them all the time, dude. It's real now." Back then, people wouldn't even listen to me. I was out of my mind for even bringing it up.
Right.
Fucking stupid. And now they can't put it down. Can't put it down for a minute.
Yeah.
That's changing us so fast in our focus that there's almost a divide between those who are almost setting it aside and growing with the energy aspects of the changes of the cosmos, and those are going with it. Like, they're trying to integrate all our children and stuff into it, so they're raised and born and grown into it. It's almost like a war for consciousness, in a sense. Like, where's your focus going to be? In what's fed to you, or what nature's trying to bring about in us and elevate us to naturally?
Yeah. It's a big divide, huh?
It is.
It's going to be all of it.
It
It's
is.
the truth. Some are going to go all this way, some are going to go all this way, and then you're going to have these guys. Right?
Yeah.
And speaking for myself, I'm leaning towards this side, but I'm definitely this guy because I use the tools that are available to me,
Yes.
and that's that intent, right? It's all the things that I've learned on how to be me, and trust me, it's all things in moderation. This is fine line, right? And it's hard to walk this fine line, and you're all over it all the time, but just one way or another, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I could just see, for me, I could see myself for the benefit of all, to make the things really happen. I feel like you have to use all the tools available,
You have to.
and somewhere in this is I see the line that I feel I'm on. It's a bridge, because you're a bridge between both worlds. Some people, like, when you're only in one world, for me as an introvert, I need to know all the whole world because of trauma, right? I need to understand my surroundings. I need to know it all. And if I put myself in this box and I don't understand this box, then I'm open to something could happen that I'm not aware of, and I can't have that.
Yes.
So I have to be as aware as possible. That means a little bit of everything, a little bit of knowledge on this. I can touch on this. I can understand this, or just critical thinking. If you talk to me in layman's terms and tell me what the hell's going on, I can understand it. Right. And that, to me, is, I agree with you.
It goes back to the will and the intent, because here I am doing videos and putting them on YouTube, and started this and dropped a lot of energy and time and effort into a platform that is exactly along the lines and the structure of what the system is using, but it's different in the will and the intent, where yes, people do watch it and they spend time staring at a screen and this and that, but it is the content that's in it versus what's popular, as you said. You've got the sports and these things that are more obviously drawing people in, but then there's the larger, as my kids say, the brain rot. There's the brain rot content that's just, all the kids doing crazy things, or people doing crazy or horrible things, or all the sexual content, which is, I've brought it up several times, it's the internet. It's something like over 75% of the capacity of the internet is porn. And it's like, wow, like people are focused so much on what is put out before them more than they are focused on putting out their own purpose and drawing out and interacting with a higher purpose in others, which again goes back to what I see this whole purpose of the group, our meeting, and the focus of the future is towards that, is betterment of humanity. Like Josie said, alchemy. The point of transmuting lead into gold for the purpose of being sovereign and free.
With brushstrokes tender, soft and sweet, he shows the world her fleeting grace and searches for